Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Chorus Cornix, and welcome to Yacc, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game I played for a week and then I talk about it. This week's game is Super Castlevania IV for the Super Nintendo. It was released in 1992 and it's a single-player action-adventure platformer. Developed by Konami and also published by Konami. Also, there'll be spoilers up ahead, just so you know, but first a little backstory. So last week I played Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance, so I figured, why not play another Castlevania game? So when you start up the game, you get the Konami logo and then a cobblestone wall scrolling up to the main title, and then cut to a grave where lightning basically struck it and a bat flies out of it and fog rolls in. Then you get some text scrolling up the screen saying that every 100 years the forces of good weakens and Dracula is revived, and this has happened many a time. So Belmont, the family that is, they have always stepped in and done their duty, and now it's time for Simon Belmont to be called once again to stop this, the forces of evil, I guess. And after that you get a little demo, and then you can select between start new game, continue, and then you have a couple of options. So you can actually change the button inputs in this game as well. You can also play with the background music and sound effects, which is kind of interesting. And then you input your name, and then you're up to start the game. So Simon stands in front of a castle, and then block 101 starts. So you have 4 lives at the start of the game, and you whip candles to get hearts that you use for your sub-weapons, such as the knife, the cross, the axe, the holy water, and the watch. And also you have a score at the top of the screen, and you also have an indicator of your life, the player's health, and you also have the boss life bar up there as well. So if I sound a little bit weird, I am actually super tired. I was on a cruise yesterday and there was a lot of drinking involved, so my brain is not really keeping up with things, but I'll do my best. So you whip candles to get whip upgrades, hearts, and sub-weapons, and then you walk into the castle over the drawbridge, and in there you fight some enemies like bats and skeletons, like classic Castlevania enemies. So good thing about this game, unlike the earlier Castlevania games, you can actually whip in 8 directions. And you can also do the limp whip thing that you could do in Harmony of Dissonance as well. So you walk through the castle, you walk into a wooded area with some houses in the background, and into a stable with flying horse heads. There are also these worm clusters that hang from the ceiling in the stables that will drop down and hurt you. You can also pick up things here. You can pick up wall meat by hitting certain walls and breaking them. You can also pick up invincibility potions, and you can also pick up money bags for points. And by the way, this game is super hard. The stable's walkway also has some Medusa heads in there, flying in the wavy patterns, those annoying patterns I should say, and there's also full knockback in this game, so you will fall off edges and from platforms and stuff and die a lot. So the first boss of this level, or the only boss of this level, is a skeleton on a horse. And now it's time for stage 2. It's basically a graveyard forest, if that makes sense. So the enemies on this level are purple hands that try to grab you from the ground, from Simon's Quest I believe. There are some spiders shooting webs. Also there are some camouflaged enemies and some rolling enemies that looks like armadillos. And the basic or classic enemies, zombies, just plain zombies. And then there is some platforming over water, and the enemies here are blackbirds, frogs, and skeletons. So you cross this bridge and the boss is, well, Medusa. So an easy way to beat this boss is just spamming the cross, the sub-weapon. So later in this stage you go down a stream, there's some flying demons, flying around, some shifting currents, and a bad thing about this game is if you can accidentally pick up another sub-weapon by whipping a candle and standing underneath it, so you want to be careful not to pick up sub-weapons that you don't want. So another thing I forgot to talk about, you can actually upgrade your sub-weapons to level 2 and 3, so you find these numbered blocks in, other blocks and bricks that you can break with your whip. Hey, that rhymed. Then you can upgrade a sub-weapon, and they basically become more potent. You can throw more holy water and spam more crosses and stuff like that. So now it's time for stage 3. It's basically a huge cave. So the enemies here are mudmen, bats, and drops from the ceiling. And there's actually a secret to this area. You can break some rocks and get to a lot of wall meat and hidden goodies. So later in the level you come across a sewer system. I believe it is at least. So there's some platforming upwards to the top, and a bad thing about this stage is that the screen scrolls with you. So when you jump, the screen scrolls up. So what was previously solid ground is now death. And at the top of this climb there's a boss, a 2-headed serpentine, either a dragon or a snake or something like that. And the game really lagged for some reason when I hit this boss, and maybe it was like a limit cap to the sprites, I have no idea. And now it's time for stage 4, the castle, and this is where I died continuously. So this is when I figured out you can continue or you can use a password to get where you died last. So I had to stop playing here because I couldn't make it any further, and I didn't want to like save state scum my way through a level, because that's not how you're supposed to play this game. This game is hard for a reason, and I'm happy that I at least made it this far. So gameplay. Help Simon Belmont stop Dracula's evil plans, and that's basically the plot of every Castlevania game. It's in a nutshell. Control, the Y button is whip, the B button is jump, the D-pad is movement, the start button pauses, and up and the Y button is sub-weapons, or you can just press the R1 trigger. Graphics. So this game used a lot of mode 7 on some of the bosses, I believe, and also there's like a spinning room, and there is a chandelier swinging segment where you have to jump between the chandeliers. Sound and music. Masanori, Adachi, and Taro Kudo made the soundtrack for this game, and I actually liked a few tracks here. Entrance Hall was one of them, and Bloody Tears. Castlevania music is always nice, but I think that the SNES sound chip is actually holding back the soundtrack a bit, because maybe I'm just spoiled by the newer Castlevania games. Easter egg seekers and glitches. So in stage 6, block 2, there's a part of the floor that you can break, which reveals a staircase leading down to a room where a man and a dog is. And if you kill the dog, the man will cry and disappear. So right before the final confrontation with Dracula, there's this staircase, and beyond that there's a void. So you can actually jump out into the void. There are some invisible platforms there, and you can actually get fully, upgraded, fully restored before the battle. It's a little nice trick. You can actually get full hearts and everything. So in conclusion, I wrote, yes, play it, but it's challenging. So the control feels really smooth, the music is good. There's some BS knockbacks. That's part of the game. So the game is challenging and even hard at times. But if you're a Castlevania fan, I highly recommend this game, because it is a must play in my opinion. So if you haven't played it, go play it. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.